Yo, yo,
Oh man, it's good to see you.
man,
Look,
it's good to see
it's
you too.
yeah, how time's flown.
Hell yeah. I'm glad we pushed this back to 12:15 because I just got home like 5 minutes ago. So that
It's all
worked
good,
out
man.
perfect.
You've been a busy man. You've been immersing yourself
Yo,
in some
yo.
yoga. Oh man,
Yeah. Oh, we got some kickback. Yeah, it's been very great. It really has. Yeah, I'm enjoying the practice. Last week I started doing 2 classes a day.
nice,
So like a 9 a.m. class, and then there's a half-hour break that I go on like a walk through the neighborhood that the studio's in, and then a 10:30 class. It's
nice.
been
So,
good.
so they're hour sessions of time, are they?
Yeah, yeah, 2 hour sessions or
Nice.
2 1 hour sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, good man. Well, you're looking well. You're looking really good, man. And so, yeah, how's everything going with like well, I know we obviously done the dieta before and all the lifestyle practices there. And then, yeah, how's that going for you now? Are you still like abiding by that? Are you like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I would say I'm most of the way into the dieta still. Like I've still been eating super clean. I've still not really eating red meat. Still no pork. Still haven't taken any other plant medicines. Um, Still eating only like whole foods, nothing out of a box or out of a can. Just just really I've been feeling so great that I
Mm,
don't want to go backwards on that. Like I'm just gonna keep it rolling.
that's so good, man. I feel like this is one of the most beneficial things about the experience is all of the preparation. Um, and I think that starts from the moment, personally for me, that I was called to do this. Like there was a lot of mental preparation, and then prior to actually going to the retreat center, it's all like the physical preparation in terms of like the dieta. But I learned a hell of a lot through that. And for me, it was quite a big shake up because I do eat pork, I do eat red meat. Salt is a huge part of my daily
Hmm.
diet for like not only like my health and energy, but also sports performance as well. So that was something that I really struggled with. And then on top of that, like sexual activity, that's a big change. Like,
Yes, well, I've definitely added that back in, but I did hold off for the time that I was supposed to. And honestly, that's been like more powerful and more strong for both of us, I think, after having that time like away from it. So it's been
yeah,
good. It's been really good. Yo,
it's happening, Matt.
Guys, can you
man,
Well,
great to
guys,
see you.
can you, on
I
my
can see,
iPad,
I can see
can
you.
you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, got
Yeah,
you,
we
man.
Oh, we're
got
good?
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, good. Good to see you, man, and welcome. We're just diving straight in. So there's no like pre pre talk. We're just straight into it. Just we're chatting now anyway. So yeah, we'll just share our experiences and just have a good catch up.
Nice.
So yeah, Neil, you were saying about yeah, the sort of like connection between you and your wife.
Yeah, I think it's like that time of us abstaining together was then beneficial, I think, and and it's brought us closer together in all the ways. I mean, not just sexually. I mean, I think that we've like that she has experienced also or observed the changes that I've made and recognizes them, and it's cool to have her reporting that to me also, right? Her observations and my changes. I think because I'm also like sleeping on a more normal schedule. I didn't really have the healthiest sleep schedule. I used to stay up really late. And then now me doing in this yoga practice every morning that like I gotta get to bed because I gotta get up. And like that's been good that we're going to bed together and she's like very excited about us going to bed at the same time because she used to go to bed like I used to stay up 3 or 4 hours after she went to bed. And so like that's been a good thing too. Yeah, I think there's just been a lot of good out of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's all the stuff either side of it as well. That's not even speaking about the actual experience itself and what you get
Yeah,
out as well. It's huge.
it has been for sure.
Yeah. Matt, like I know you were like, well, probably still are. I mean, I haven't spoken too much to you, aside from what we've been exchanging in the build up to this, but I know like sharing a room with you at the retreat center, having the conversations that we had, like bonding, like you're super disciplined. So I'm keen to see how like the post diet has like gone for you as well.
Yeah, man, it's been good. I'm fortunately in a place right now where I'm in between careers, and so I've really been able to focus a lot on a lot of the lifestyle aspects. But yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things I've noticed is just kind of like changes in a lot of relationships and kind of what I'm adding to and getting out of certain relationships and kind of certain friend groups that I'm not as interested in spending time with. Um, kind of I've been to a handful of social activities that, prior to the ayahuasca experience, it would have been great. It would have been super exciting. Hey, a bunch of people partying, drinking, having a good time. And I get to some of those situations now, and I'm just not interested in having those surface level, alcohol induced, kind of meaningless conversations. And so, I find myself in some of these environments going, man, this is just a waste of time, even just being here. I could be at the house reading or, going on a walk or just doing something more healthful or, building new relationships with new people, that are more kind of in line with what I'm trying to accomplish in life. And so, a lot of those old activities were just kind of time pacifiers, right? It's Saturday. There's nothing going on. Let's meet up with some friends at the bar and hang out and drink a bunch. And it's not that that was a bad time, but if I'm not drinking a bunch, I realize that it's really not that stimulating of a time. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that I'm in those environments with aren't really that stimulating people to hang out with if I'm not hammered drunk. Um, so I've definitely, I've built better relationships with and continue to kind of find kind of a different tribe, right? The guys that I've met at the gym or kind of folks that have healthier lifestyles is who I'm gravitating more towards, and definitely building, deeper networks in that. And one of those being kind of the fitness community, but also I'm doing my first Spartan race on Saturday, and
Hell yeah.
I'm doing a Spartan Deca on June 8th, and so I've got some guys that I'm doing those with. And I actually just before logging on to this podcast, I was looking at some of the other races later on this summer that are, in cool kind of mountain towns and kind of booking travel and putting some things on the calendar in that kind of capacity. Whereas before, normally it's like, okay, let's go to Cabo and drink a bunch of tequila for 3 days and come home feeling terrible, or like, let's go on a different type of trip, but spending most of the time just partying. Um, and so ayahuasca has kind of really helped reframe what's healthy for me, what I really enjoy, and what I'm really, getting energized by, and not just finding a way to kind of pass the time.
So powerful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so powerful. And I'm really, really pleased to hear that like you've well had such like pivotal but positive like change. The thing that come up for me there with all of this, because I was saying to Neil, like there's a lot from like the preparation in terms of the dieta. There's a lot from the actual like process and the ceremonies, and then the discipline to like continue the dieta afterwards as well as like the connections, the bonding. There's just so many like benefits. Um, but I feel like it's quite hard to have that level of like focus and discipline if there's not a real purpose to it. And for me, the purpose was like I wanted to dig deep. I had some things that I wanted to heal from like childhood and like the military and past relationships and experiences. And I like even now, I don't I don't really know exactly what I got rid of. Like that's the really interesting thing, but I got rid of a lot. Like
Yeah.
um but the hard thing was for me with the dieta, like the no salt, the no red meat, that was really, really tough for me. Because that's like the complete opposite of like my lifestyle, my philosophy. And like Matt, you were there for me, like having a party
Yeah.
afterwards, like with the salt and and the tomahawk steaks. But yeah, I think having that purpose and focus is the thing that is well significant to the transformation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say the hardest part when we were down there was the salt. Um, I eat a lot of red meat as well, but like I can get by eating volume of chicken and fish and eggs. But my body was physically going, man, I'm cramping and I don't typically cramp. Um, yeah, the salt thing was rough.
Yeah, I know there's a few moments that I was kicking off about it. I was definitely kicking off about it. But yeah, there's a big need for that. But I think well, it definitely is um, respecting the dieter and the culture, and yeah, just it's a sacred process and ceremony. But yeah, it didn't make it easy. But I really suffered like on that middle day between the ceremonies, very dehydrated, like purged a lot. Um, yeah, and was definitely in some need of some electrolytes.
Well, most
But
people, if nothing else, it's an incredible exercise in, what you can do with your diet disciplines when you have an objective other than just I'm just trying to lose some weight or aesthetics. But people in Western culture certainly, and um, the UK and in the US, many people aren't very mindful of what we put in our bodies, and we live in this high
Mm.
processed food, high sugar environment, and so it's pretty incredible when you peel a lot of that stuff out of your diet, how great you can feel.
mm,
It was
yeah,
surprising to me. I mean, like I definitely learned through the dieta that I've struggled with my weight my whole life. And like definitely learned through that process in leading up to it how dangerous of a relationship I had with food, like that I used it as a drug, like used it to pleasure myself in a way. And that's like not a healthy way to go about thinking what your food should be. But I never really realized that until I started this process. And then on the back side of it, I guess just through my integration and through staying with it, really came to the realization that in all the times that I tried to diet in the past with the goal of losing weight, I struggled with it because I felt like I was punishing myself. Like that it was me like denying myself these things and it would make me mad. Like it would really hit me in this weird place of like I would be upset that I was having to eat this healthy thing or that thing or not able to eat this or that thing. But it's just so different for me, at least it has been in the last 5 weeks or so since I've come back that I'm not craving these things that I shouldn't be eating. And I feel good about eating well. And I think it's because I just feel so great inside, like that it helps reinforce. It's like a positive feedback loop that, like, man, I feel so awesome. And that's because I'm being active, because I'm eating so clean. And I just don't want to go back.
mm,
And I in no way feel like I'm punishing myself. In fact, I feel like I'm treating myself like better than I ever have. And that's such a wild shift in how I like thought about food and dieting prior to this experience. And it's been so positive.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And that's that's not even like the ayahuasca either. That's all like the prior preparation, really setting conditions for that, actually being on the retreat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only thing that's on offer is like incredible like organic food. Um and yeah, being in that environment, being motivated, feeling the way that you do, and then also like the metabolic and like changes and like the hormonal changes and the changes to the microbiome in the gut as well. So it's like why would you want to like lose that as well? It's such a powerful thing, and then yeah, you want to hold on to that for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Yeah,
good.
another thing I've definitely noticed, a big vice that I've had, for almost 20, probably 20 years has been women. And I've been single most of my adult life, and I live in Austin, which is a very single party kind of city. And in the past, I would kind of always spend time texting with girls or Instagram chatting with girls and kind of setting up dates and whatever. And prior to the retreat during the dieta, I was like, I really want to focus on my preparation and myself, and I don't want to be distracted thinking about conversation I'm having with the girl or that type of stuff. Um, and then since I've come back, I've talked to a few girls, but call it a bit more intentionally. Um, and the ayahuasca definitely reframed like what I want out of the relationship. And that's not to say that I didn't know before. And I think a lot of the stuff with ayahuasca, a lot of times, like you kind of know what the right thing to do is, but it kind of helps you come kind of really have to face it head on and decide, hey, like, do I actually want to commit to making these changes that I know are going to benefit me? Or do I just want to kind of know in the back of my head that I should be doing this other thing and that what I'm doing right now is not constructive? And so it's really helped me kind of reframe, what I'm looking to get out of relationships and kind of wanting to build relationship with the right person and not just chase kind of the short term instant gratification um, type of experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I remember having conversations with you about this because it's not just like the abstinence like prior to the retreat, during the retreat, after the retreat. That's powerful in itself, but then actually the ayahuasca as well. But I remember having conversations about this. You just like your perspective had completely changed. You were like, I'm going to do things differently. And something else that come up for me there as well was like they were speaking about on the retreat about like the abstinence afterwards as well. It's like that energetic exchange. It's like you've just done all this work on yourself and like you're open and like well you're cleaner, but then to like mix energies with other people that aren't on the same vibration would be would be almost detrimental to you and the work that
Yeah.
you've done as well. So I'm really pleased that you've upheld this and been more intentional with it as well. Although it could be quite tempting, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like I was at this party on Friday night, and everybody was dressed up in suits and fancy clothes, and it was an okay time. I was totally sober, and I think I was the only sober person there, so it was a bit tough to find. A lot of times when people are out partying, they don't want to have super interesting, deep conversations, and so when you're there and you're the sober one, you don't just want to have some of the meaningless chit chat. But there were definitely some women there that a previous version of myself would have been having a few drinks and happy to try and kind of make something happen with. But I just found myself kind of sitting there going, look, yeah, that girl is kind of lustfully beautiful, but I don't think this is a situation that I want to spend my time and energy kind of digging into, and I'm not sure what I would get out of this is going to be something that's going to be very fulfilling. Um,
Mm,
which is just a very different approach to that whole situation than I'm used to.
yeah, yeah. Like from my experience on this, because actually, like I spoke to you guys a lot. I don't know if I mentioned this though, but I obviously spoke about myself and Josie and like the journey that we had been on. But one of the issues I had was actually the way that I viewed women, but that was based on like my past programming and whatever else. And one of the belief systems was like men and women can't really be friends. Like it's going to always end in like, I don't know, like a sexual encounter, and maybe sometimes it develops into that, but then again it's like compatibility. But that was actually a big thing for me. And part of this was like the ayahuasca, but actually the the retreats that I've been on, or in fact being in proximity to all the women that were on the retreat, like that wasn't a thing. Like there was the exchange of conversations and there was bonding, but there wasn't like that sexual like tension or anything like that in any way. And that was like really, really powerful for me. And then going through the ceremonies and like working through that, it was just like this light bulb like moment explosion for me, which has been like really, really pivotal for me because Josie, she's got male friends and has male friends and has done for years and stuff like that. And that was a thing that had bugged me like previously. And I wouldn't say it's like perfect now. It's all work in progress, but that was really like pivotal for me to actually go, hang on a minute, like there can be a crossover here. So I really relate to what you're saying there, Matt. But yeah, I think it's like
Yeah,
the
I
different
mean,
connection.
well, to your point, I've noticed that like I'm able to have some really good relationships with women that are incredibly attractive women, um, but not in a sexual way, right? Like we're literally just friends, and some of these girls are single, some of them are not. And I think part of it is with ayahuasca, treating it treats the symptoms. Sorry, it treats the sickness, not the symptoms. And a lot of I think what I was dealing with alcohol, partying, and women was needing validation from others in the world, and that ayahuasca helped kind of heal some of the childhood trauma that allowed me to not kind of empowered me to not need the external world's validation as much. And so, I don't need to have some hot chick on my arm at dinner on Friday night to feel whole and complete and respected by others and myself. Um, and I think that was one of the biggest changes from the medicine, was not needing to feel like I need to seek validation from women or use women as a way to validate myself to the rest of the world.
That is that is huge. Like
Yeah, it
it really
is.
is. That is so huge. Two things come up for me there was like one, um, the ceremonies what like were truly beautiful, the things that we saw, and even outside of like the Maloca as well, just being in this like magical like kingdom that I was in at various points.
Hmm.
But then like seeing like the facilitators like dressed in like complete white, these white like beautiful entities just like moving around this space, but like actually
Yeah.
seeing beauty for seeing beauty, but not in a sexual way in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. But then the second thing to what you said, Matt, here, and I really relate to this and feel this, like, is using that or feeling like a particular way to try and like meet the unmet needs of like your inner child. So rather than like actually focusing on you and doing that inner work, like looking at the external world or other people to like meet those precise needs when they may not actually meet those needs in the first place. And what I learned in the ceremony was like I need to love myself and I need to be able to meet my own needs to the highest level and really truly like trust and love myself. Because if I can't do that, I'm not going to welcome that into my life. And how can anyone else like truly love me or want to be there for me if I can't do that? And it's actually I've started working with a coach since I've been back who is like part of this like world, and that's been really good because he understands me. He's been on the journey, and it's powerful, and I'm like really really excited to see where this goes. And it's mad to think like of the place that I was operating from, like how blind and how like masked it was, how like unauthentic it was. But I didn't really know that until then.
So it's interesting. I like, I kind of, I did some therapy and some inner child work a few years ago, and I had kind of known a little bit prior to that that I was generally a people pleasing type of person. But then after I did a lot of that work, it was very apparent that that was what was driving a lot of my issues. Um, but I didn't really ever figure out how to treat that. It's just like I was made aware of it, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And ayahuasca has been the first thing that's ever actually like found a way to treat that. And I got during ceremonies, mainly ceremony 3, but maybe a little bit in ceremony 4, where I actually felt a physical purge of that negative energy, and then almost a, you know, energetic, chemical, structural, physical change that I was no longer carrying the weight of that kind of people pleasing, external validation seeking need. And I've had friends since I've been back. Um, one of them, we're out, and he goes, "Man, you seem cooler and like more settled and just like chill, like you." And and it's someone whose opinion I value greatly, um, and who doesn't really dish out compliments very often. And so for him to really point that out, um, was pretty powerful to me. And he said it in front of 5 or 6 people. What, and again, this isn't a touchy feely type of guy that's dishing out love a lot, right? Um, so
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see like the people around you make those observations because you sort of feel it yourself, but then it's hard to really know if you're just telling yourself that or like if you're really feeling it, if that makes sense. And
Hmm.
then to have like someone who's close to you point out that like, wow, I can really see you being different or better or just a better version of yourself. It like brings some validation to those feelings and like reinforces it, and I think that that's really powerful.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is the authentic version of yourself or closer to it, Matt? Like, because that's the thing that popped up to me. It's like, I think like I have operated from past trauma, past experiences, all these things. And the work I'm doing is to be more authentic. Like how does Matt, how do I like operate in the world like if I was unscathed from all the experiences and all the trauma?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a few steps in the right direction. Um, I think it's certainly by no means a 1 week to cure the rest of your life. Um, but I think it's definitely like a, it's certainly bringing me a lot closer, and maybe enabling me to keep seeking and working on getting closer to that more authentic version of me.
Mm,
You know.
for sure. Neil, you got anything else you want to add on this, man?
Yeah, I think I mean that it just I guess I talked about it a little bit before, but it just gives you this positive feedback loop and like where I'm feeling it with my health and my diet. Like Matt, you're sort of describing how you're feeling it with moving toward this more real version of yourself and that you're like feeling that and striving toward it and then getting reinforcement around it and that makes you want to strive toward it more. And like yeah, it's so crazy too because I really came on this journey like as a bit of like a psychedelic explorer, if you will, and like that this is a medicine that I've not tried yet, and like I want to go into the jungle and get the deepest I ever been, and like then really learned throughout it that like and Matt, you helped me recognize that too after the morning of your ceremony 3 of like, look, that's all just a side effect. Like all these cool visuals or trying to get deep on the medicine, like all that is just that's not what we're really there for and that we're really there to like learn about ourselves and be better versions of ourselves and like all of the psychedelic part is like just a side effect or a means to get to this better version and that that was really eye-opening to me, because while I was serious about intention setting, like I went through the pre-work and wanted to be all in with it, I still think that my main motivation was I just want to go do this new thing in the jungle and get deep. And like that's and I really, I think in part ways hurt myself through the week, in that I was built this expectation around, oh well, tonight's the night. Like even the day that we fasted together, that like I'm gonna fast and I'm gonna drink a bunch tonight, and like we're really gonna get deep. And then that night I just turned off and there was nothing. And like then I was
Mm.
very disappointed the next morning, or dissatisfied with what happened. And then you talked to me, Matt, about look, that's not really what we're here for, and that helped me realign or reshift what I thought about it. And then Sati and Bailey helped me recognize that this like long night of nothingness, of blankness, is like a true gift. In that, while I didn't get these deep visuals that I was looking for, what I did get was like what yoga masters like search their whole life to like try to achieve these moments of clarity and emptiness. And like I was gifted that for the whole night. And so
Mm.
I just think, and while I'm still going to go back, and I still like I'm going to go back, and I want to, and I think it's still sort of this weird torn of like I still want to go get really deep in the jungle, but I also recognize that that's like now that I'm feeling the way that I feel and how motivated I am around my health and around being this better version of myself, like both mentally and physically, that like what I really want to go back to do is just reinforce that, and like um and build upon that further to help me continue on this journey. So yeah, it's all so wild. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. I think a big part of it is the expectations. I feel like that can be, well, that can be a bit of a killer, really. And it sounds like it
Hmm.
was a bit disheartening in ways, because it's like, here's the expectation, here's what I want to get out of it. I want to go deep. I want to explore this like realm and see all these visuals. But then the reality was very different to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What was your experience, Matt? For me, I was just super open. Like my intention was like, show me what I need to know. Like that was it. Like I was like super open. Like, 'cause there's just so much stuff. There wasn't like anything that was like particularly like prevalent, but I was like, show me, just like show me, like with like reverence and just like almost like begging for it. Like I'm here, I'm open. Like let's go. Like take me there. And that really worked in my favor.
So I came in with some very specific intentions. Kind of as Neil alluded to, both of us had fairly lighter our first two ceremonies, and so after hearing about some of the other folks' more intense experiences, I certainly had put a decent amount of pressure on myself for ceremony three, and because I was planning on drinking a lot more, not having lunch, I did go in there with a lot of reverence and a lot of surrender, and kind of in a lot of the same mantras that you just said. Kind of the look, I'm taking away my expectations. I trust that you're going to show me what I need, um, and this very well could be a gnarly experience, but I trust that I'm in a safe environment and that whatever happens is going to be beneficial and good. And I had an incredible ceremony three that was incredibly linear and specific to the intentions that I had set. Um, it hit right. It didn't come on scary or unsettling. It was very calm. It was very intense, but calming and loving and positive, and cut straight to some trauma that needed to be healed. Uh, and I couldn't have scripted a better ceremony for what I was trying to get out of it. But
Nice.
it's almost as if I wasn't ready for that quite in the first two ceremonies. It took quite a bit of kind of meditation and thought and preparation and surrender before it happened on ceremony three. Um, So it was kind of interesting how that worked. That maybe, I thought I was ready going in. Maybe I wasn't quite ready, but then after two ceremonies, doing that extra work, I kind of got over the hump on doing what I needed to do to get to the right place,
Mm.
to let the medicine really do its job.
Yeah, it's great, man. Really good. Like you hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah, and it sounds like you got exactly what you needed from that ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you on that? Anything to share on that, Neil?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, just to talk about the safe space a bit, like that Matt mentioned, that, before I went to this, I sort of had this list of people in my head who I thought should also go about this experience. But they were all people who I had or who I knew were into psychedelics and already in that world. And I guess I was still thinking about it like I was prior of like, we're about to go get deep in the jungle. And like really thought that the only people that should go on this experience are people who are like well versed or well experienced in the psychedelic realm. But what I learned there, and it's really based on both what I learned in myself, that that's not really what it's all about, but then also observing the facilitators and the staff there and how much care they put into um to the space and to the people and to making sure that everyone that was there was comfortable and educated and cared for. That really expanded my list of the people I think should go on this adventure, and it like by a lot, and that it really is a good experience for people who may have no experience with psychedelics. um and like you said, to and again, just like I can still see the picture in my mind of like Sati just floating around the Maloca in the ceremony in her long white dress, just like sprinkling care over everyone. It was like so amazing to witness, that it made me feel so safe and comfortable, and then made me feel comfortable to like recommend the experience to people who I never really thought it would be the right thing for. And so, yeah, I think that the job that they do there is incredible, and the care that they take is just top notch, and like help and like really just made me feel comfortable to recommend it to a lot of people.
1,000,000%. And that is one of many reasons why I chose Soltara in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First and foremost, like I was called to Costa Rica. I know we would have spoke about this, but it'd be good to like talk about it again. I know you wanted to go deep, Neil, but yeah, really, what like called you to that precise place? Because the thing that really fascinates me is like there's 20 different individuals from different parts of the world. I mean, we had like Adam, who's an Egyptian who lives in Dubai. You got me in the UK. You guys from all over the States. You had Matthew
Mm-hmm.
from like Canada. Like, so it's like, how do you get all of these people from like completely different places all like come to this precise place at this precise time? And like for years, Costa Rica had been in the background. I didn't know why. I was just like pulled to the location. And then at the end of last year, I started like researching psychedelics, and I'm one of those guys that was in the camp of never doing psychedelics. And then the first thing I go and do is ayahuasca. And I think a few of you guys are like, what? Are you crazy? Um, but yeah, that was part of like the synchronicities, was just like doing the research, being called to Costa Rica, various things happening in my life. And then actually the thing that really solidified it was in August this year. There's a world championship race actually in Costa Rica in August. So I booked that race a few months ago, and then I had some like life events happen, and I was like, well, I'm going to Costa Rica later on in the year. I'm going to do my ceremonies at Soltara directly after I do that race, like a couple of days later. And then the thing happened, and I was like, why have I pushed this so far into the future? Like, why would I wait another 6 months, 5 months, whatever it was, to go and do this? And now, especially doing it back in April, I think, why have I even waited this long to do it? Like,
Yeah.
why did I push the experience off? And then the really fascinating thing of actually being there and going through the experiences. I was very cautious going into like ceremony one. I remember like talking about like the dosing and stuff like that. I was really cautious like in the amount that I
Hmm.
took to start with. I didn't really feel much in the first ceremony. I had some very light like visuals and colors and stuff like that, but it wasn't deep. And then ceremony two, I don't know whether it was an ego thing or whether I was a little bit impatient, but like, I didn't really feel anything to start with, and then took another 2 cups um after the initial one, and the ceremony was coming to an end. So I was peaking at the end of the ceremony. I don't know if you remember me laughing, but
Yeah.
there's a bit of a story to this. And actually, before this call, I was on a group call with some guys in my community, and I was sharing some of the experiences. And anyway, like a traumatic thing that happened to me earlier this year led to me like having this pain in my throat and my chest. And I've just connected some dots between that. And it was that, well, I feel like this could definitely be the case. That laughter in the end of that ceremony was me like activating my vocal cords, and whatever that pain was in my throat. So that like bellowing laughter was really like the vibration of my throat. I mean, I had the vibration of like my pelvis, my legs, my muscles, all that stuff, which was moving the energy and shaking it. And then I think that was the release. And then for the rest of the night, I remember laughing, and it was just a really good, like, mystical experience after I like purged a lot of stuff. Um, but then some other things to add on that, and this is the crazy thing. And speaking about like your third ceremony, Matt, after that second ceremony for me, like I kind of felt like I had enough. Like that was not like enough of like I feel like I achieved what I needed to do. But then going into the third ceremony, I went into that with a little bit of apprehension, fear, and it's like, do I need this? And it was the same for the fourth. And the answer was like yes, because each ceremony was like completely different for me, and it
Hmm.
gave me a little bit more in terms of that experience. So it's really fascinating how it all works. And then tying this back into something you spoke about, Neil, and it was like the reason you went there is like you wanted to like try this out and whatever else. For me, that wasn't like the intention. But on the fourth ceremony, I was I was toying with that because it was like we want to close this out. We want to close this out on a positive way. And I was thinking about my dosing. Like, do I want to go hard on this? Like, I feel like I've got everything that I needed from this in the past 3 ceremonies. Do I need to go for that? And I remember talking to one of the facilitators, and she was like, "Well, ultimately, this is your choice, like, and what you do here." Um, and I don't know whether that was ego or something speaking that I wanted to go big on it and just wanted to go deep for the experience. But when I actually come round to it and I sat in front of the maestress, like it was taken out of my own hands anyway. Like I said, I wanted 2.5 and she poured three, and I was the first person to drink. And within 10 minutes, I took off, and that was it. So, um, yeah, really, yeah, fascinating the whole thing. But yeah, I think the location, um, was the thing that pulled me, and then also the the actual people, like the Shipibo people, like the healers. That was a big attract piece for me,
Yeah.
and making sure that it was like a sacred ceremony done in the right way. Because I know you could probably find that stuff back home or wherever, but for me, it was like if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this properly to fully reap the rewards. And I think that ties back into the dieta, and the preparation before and after as well.
Yeah, the maestros, their Shibipo tradition, the Icaros were all amazing. And I really didn't know much about that. I mean, I knew that we were gonna follow this tradition. I was told that they sang songs during the ceremony, but I just didn't understand it. And it was the most beautiful and amazing part, I feel like. I mean, the songs that they sing are so powerful and so beautiful, and it really carries the energy of the whole ceremony. And like, I just was not prepared for that in any way, but it was such a pleasant surprise and really made it so powerful that it's like, in fact, I was just invited to like a local ceremony yesterday, just yesterday. And I'm like, well, excited to do that, but then also like a little bit like, well, man, like what's that going to be like? Because the reverence held in that Maloca by those maestros was so powerful that like it really made the whole thing, you know? And so I'm while I'm excited to do it again in a different place, I'm also excited to do it again there. And
Mm.
I'm very serious about going back there. In fact, I'm holding my dieta just until I go back. I plan to go back in August. Um, but like they just did such an amazing job that like that it's hard for me to imagine it being different. And I know that, you know, this tradition that the Shabipos are not the only tribe to use this medicine. They're not, so it's not like that they've got it all figured out. I mean, they've got their thing figured out. I don't want to take anything away from them because it was amazing. But like there's more to be experienced, but at the same time, what we all went through there was so powerful that I'm like somewhat apprehensive about doing it in another way because that
Mm.
was just so awesome.
Yeah, indeed. I think the thing to add on this for the guys that listen back to this, and I certainly didn't know this until I got there. I always thought ayahuasca was part of the ceremony for the people that went there to get healed, but that's not actually the case. It's actually the healers that were the ones that drink the ayahuasca and then sing the Icaros. So actually, the healing power is in the Icaros, not so much the ayahuasca, although the ayahuasca amplifies it and allows you to go deep internally. And that is so powerful. And those Icaros were so powerful. And even like listening to them now, I feel it. Like I still feel like the ayahuasca is still like active in me and in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
like the Icaros like bring absolute like joy to my life. But it was it was tiring at points. I don't know, maybe I speak for myself, but when he was singing at like the depth and the volume that he was for as many hours as he was, it was tiring. I remember on that fourth ceremony laying there when I like kind of I was the first one to drink and I was just in absolute bliss for like that 20-40 minutes of silence while everyone else went up. And then there was the silence, and then he started singing and he blessed and sung into the ayahuasca. And I was just sat there and I was like, I don't want him to start singing because I was just like in this like euphoric lovely place. And then he did, and it was like boom. It was like someone beating a drum like really, really loudly and intensely. And that was he wasn't even singing to me yet. So yeah, it's really powerful. And then I don't know if you want to speak to like the when actually you had the Icaros sung at you, but they actually like took control of me. Like that was the really fascinating thing. Like, and there was points where I was just like worshiping them and like completely
Mm-hmm.
thankful. And I remember when she come to me on one of the ceremonies, she kind of picked me up and then she was manipulating the way that I was moving my body and moving me and shifting me. And then I was just like incredibly thankful for like a healing and a blessing and the songs. And then she spat the perfume at me and I just went boom and just laid back down. And then I was just like in bliss again, like off on this journey. And it was just absolutely incredible. So like speaking about like your up and coming experience and also with the frame of mind you went into Soltara, I think expectations, remove any expectations, Neil. Like don't have any, like see that as an independent experience that you're about to go into versus
Mm-hmm.
comparing that to Soltara, because I think it's a very unique experience
Yeah.
and it would be very hard to replicate and also compare. Like I think you could take away from your experience on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great advice. I definitely know that. And I was even advised this in my pre-call, like to not build expectations. And I mentally told myself not to do that, but at the same time, know that I still had them built in there. And I really want to strive to remove that, but it's a real challenge. But yeah, I mean, in the same like where you said that they moved you, I mean, if I had not experienced it myself, I would have a hard time believing it. And I know that when I tell, and all the times that I've shared my experience with the people in my life since I've been back, I can tell that it's hard for them to understand or believe when I say that they moved me, but they did. And that was real, and I felt it, and it's really hard for our like Western minds to understand the power of what goes on there. But uh, I mean, seeing is believing, right? And like that's that like I definitely saw and definitely felt, and like um it's just so hard to describe other than like that it happened, and it was so wild.
Mm.
I mean, so I definitely went down there. Like I was nervous, right? And I'm somebody that's has drank a lot, done plenty of party drugs, have experimented with psychedelics, handful of times in the ceremonial type of dosing, and then countless times in kind of a more micro party environment. Um, my preconceived notions were, okay, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to drink ayahuasca. It's going to be a miserable experience. That's not going to be fun. That's going to be terrifying. But at the end of it, I'm going to get a lot out of it, and it's going to be very beneficial. But I was definitely, I mean, yeah, nervous is probably the best way to describe it. And it was wild because at no point in any of my ceremonies was I scared. Um, was I really intimidated? At no point, there's really nothing negative about it whatsoever. Um, and maybe having that mindset of reverence going into it was part of the reason why I felt that way. Um, but like ceremony 3 for me, the medicine hit hard, but it hit it very loving and very warm and kind of uh, peaceful at the same time. And when I purged, as I was purging, it wasn't like a negative throwing up. It wasn't painful. It wasn't even uncomfortable. It was like this incredible positive, like I don't know how else to describe it other than it was just a really good feeling of release. And then immediately afterwards, I felt like 20 years of stress and anxiety was off my shoulders. And then physically, like a 45-pound weight was lifted off my shoulders at the same time. And that was right after my first Icaro of the night. So I'm kind of sitting there for the next 20 or 30 minutes in this very relaxed, peaceful, calm, light body feeling. And then when my second Icaro was being sung to me by Javier, my my body kind of straightened up, and my chest was pushed out and my chin was up in a very proud feeling that I was not in control of. Like my body was doing that through his energies. Um, and it was just this incredibly profound feeling where he was breathing in self-confidence and honor and self-respect and all these things into my body, and I could physically feel the energy within me shift. um, and it's really hard to put into words and explain to somebody that has never experienced that. And kind of like Neil, you were alluding to, when I've shared that with a lot of friends, I think the response is, wow, that's awesome, it sounds really cool. But it's, there's really no way of being able to relay that to somebody that hasn't actually experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, when I went down there, I thought I was going to have to really go to battle with my demons to get the positive benefit out of it. And at least for me on this specific retreat, that wasn't the case at all. The ayahuasca worked in a very loving, compassionate way, not in a fearful, scary. I didn't have to battle with anything. It's almost as if between the medicine and the maestros that they kind of battled it for me, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
And
again,
it's
like, or sorry, go ahead.
no, go, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, like, coming back from it, in talking to people, I mean, what I've advised friends that are interested, I'm like, man, if based upon what little you know about ayahuasca, you're really interested and you're considering doing it, I think you should do it. You know, some people are going to learn a little bit and just immediately say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with that. It's not for me, and that's okay. Um, but anybody that can learn a little bit about it and has interest, doing it at a place like Soltara with the right setting and intentions and support, um, I think everybody would get a hell of a lot out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful. And I agree that if anybody out there listening is feeling the call, they should answer. They should go. I mean, and I really think, and I did a fair amount of research about the different places that offer this experience, and there's more than a few of them. I'm so thankful that I ended up at Soltara, and so thankful that I ended up there at the time that I was there. I mean, I think the group that we had was so awesome. Um, and it is wild, Matt, like you said, that we have this such diverse group of people come from all over the globe to meet there at that time, and we all just like gelled and meshed and vibed together so well. It really also made the experience very special the way that the group gelled together. And then I think also the way that the crew at Saltara runs the program with the ceremonies and then the sharing and the integration really really was beneficial, because my biggest realization around my number one intention came like in the moment that I was sharing to the group about it. And like it happened the night before, but when it happened, it just happened. And I didn't make the connection to my intention. But it was when I was sharing to the group that like I just broke down in that moment of sharing of like, wow, this is so powerful. And it all came together then in the share. And so I I then again am just so thankful to the team at Soltara for facilitating that and leading us through that part of it, because that is what really, for me anyways, what made the connection and what made it so beneficial. And then also made our whole group like brought us all that sharing, I think, tore down all the walls that we put up to like not be vulnerable around people, and it helped us all be vulnerable and helped us all like come closer together as one. And that was really a huge part of what made the experience so great.
Yeah. There's just
Yeah, and
there's
I
so
think what people have to understand is like uh, the medicine is a tool, um, and just like a barbell is a tool. Um, you know, a barbell is not going to make you strong. Using it properly with the right technique and everything can, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, the medicine is just part of it. Um, the dieta going into it, the environment that you're down there in, being able to unplug, um, the people in your group, um, the facilitators, and so you know the actual psychedelic experience of being you know of drinking the ayahuasca is just kind of part of it, right? Um, so I think that's important to remember.
100%. It's everything. It's absolutely everything. It's so hard to like put context on it and really share it in its like truest and fullest way. Um, unless, like you said, like you actually experience it for yourself. And the guy said it's not for everyone. But something I said after one of the ceremonies, because it was just like just like wow, like the knowledge, the insights that I gained, I was just like, I want this for everyone. Like
Yeah.
I want this
Yeah.
power, this knowledge. I want everyone to experience this. And that was such a powerful thing. I know you guys get it, but for people that are listening to this and conversations we've had, they don't kind of get it. And that's been one of my challenges with integration is actually I feel like I've changed a lot and I'm continuing to build and develop and change a lot. But the outside world hasn't necessarily changed in people within that world. And that's fine because they've not just been on that journey. But it's hard to like relate and get points across in a way. And clearly that will take time. But I also understand I've got a lot more work to do. And that's what I feel like it done for me. It opened me up and it showed me a lot of my good qualities. It showed me the work that I need to do looking forward as well. It's yeah, it's really, really powerful. And I think yeah, going back into the experience as well, I think you guys, the people, were something that really, really made it. Like, and something I've just written there is like the people are the medicine. And I went on two retreats kind of back to back. I've done one in Scotland and then done one there. And actually the most powerful thing was the people there. And like even conversations like this, it's great. It really,
Mm-hmm.
really helps. Um, so I think it's good for that in that way. But I just want to go back into what you said, Matt, about, and it's kind of expectations, I think, so as well as what you said, Neil. But I think very much the same as you, Matt. I was preparing myself to kind of go to some really dark, hard places and really like meet some shit, really. Um, but I didn't get that. I just had a lot of love, a lot of bliss, a lot of gratitude. There was parts that were challenging and like physically exhausting and the purging and just a very tiring experience. But for the most part, all positive. And then linking that back into the fear and the expectations for people that are listening to this, that you feel called to do it. You may meet some challenges and some dark things, but I think with the right mindset, psychology going into it, with the right intentions, and being able to like be willing to surrender, actually, it can be a very like blissful experience and very beneficial. And much like you, Matt, like when I purged, it was like, holy crap! I don't know if any of you guys want to share about your visions, but there's one that's popped to my head. And I know we had some laughs about this on the what's it called, the star,
The Star
basically
Deck
the
at the
star.
after party.
Yeah. 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 But in one of the ceremonies, I was like laying there and I was on this journey and basically I turned into a jaguar. Like that was like the expression. I was like I could actually become it and like could feel that expression. And then that actually come up in other ceremonies. And I still kind of feel that in a way. It's a very like primal thing. And I think that stemmed from like, well, it was really deep and amazing, but the vision I was having was like the creation of life on this planet. It was kind of like the pool from which all life stemmed from, like blossomed out of that, and then that turned into creatures and animals, and then human life blossomed. And then it was like animal life, and then the connectedness between human beings and animals. And as I thought that was when that expression came. I was like, holy fuck, I'm this big cat, I'm this jaguar, and I expressed myself in that way. And that was really powerful. And that come up in another ceremony, but then I purged. So like when you purged, Matt, and you just felt light, that happened to me. And I was just like sat there and I was just like, yes. Don't know precisely what I got rid of, but I remember just sitting there and I was just like, I feel fucking so good. Like I just incredible, like euphoric, just got rid of so much trauma and shit from the past. And it was really, really incredible. So I think the point I'm trying to get to here, if people are like fearful and apprehensive, think of think of what is on the other side of that fear. Think of what is on the other side of that challenge, and like the benefits of all of what we're speaking about, how we feel, like the lifestyle changes that we've like adopted or like reinforced, and the positive things that have come from that. That's worth any challenge
Yeah.
that you go into because it's very freeing. And all of us are sat here. I don't know, Matt, you want to go back at some point? Like I certainly do. I feel like this is a great tool, and like you said, it is a tool, one of many tools that can be used. But I definitely see that this will be a great, like, powerful healing tool for myself over the coming years.
Yep. And it's probably not the right time for me, but I actually have a friend that is hosting a retreat, not this coming weekend, but the following, and he's flying a healer in from, but
That's cool.
it's out in the hill country, and it's 2 nights, Saturday or Friday and Saturday night. Um, and it's kind of going to be in that same style, and it will be like a proper healer. It's not just going to be a bunch of you know folks hanging out with music going.
There's a whole world of this type of stuff happening that I just wasn't able to connect with in my area. And that now it's so awesome to know, to meet people of like mind and of a similar practice, and like that it is available around is like beautiful. I'm just happy to know that and happy to be exposed to it and thankful for the opportunity for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've got a location not too far from me. There's a shaman that operates in this area, and we're very rural. I know Matt, you saw some videos of me like running the hills and stuff like that. That is the land where I live, and it's incredible, like the landscape. And I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago. I basically went to a sweat lodge. Josie was going to a sweat lodge, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll come along. And I've done sweat lodge before. And I looked at the timings for the integration to do like healing work and spiritual work, and it said on the email, it's like, yeah, you should be fine. And I got this gut feeling that I shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just crack on, and went into the sweat lodge, and on the fourth round just had a very bad experience. The stuff that was happening in there, I just had this massive guard on, like there's a lot of shit going around. There's a lot of trauma being thrown. All these people releasing this stuff. The shaman's turned into some demonic like person. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And I don't feel like I took any of that bad energy on. But I left that sweat lodge and I went and laid in my van, and I was fucking exhausted because I feel like I repelled all that stuff. But just being in that environment, and that was a realization for me that it was too soon to be doing other work, and actually I should have just focused more on me and my integration rather than like going off and like trying different things already. It was too soon. So that was really
Hmm.
fascinating. But yeah, so I think just like the thing is with breaking into different circles, I think it's you've got to be protective of your energy. I think that was kind of what you're saying. One, it's hard to get into those like circles, but two, is it really the right thing for you? And I probably shouldn't have been there and doing that precise thing as well. I wasn't actually called to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a
that's kind of
similar. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
well. No, I was going to say when my friend offered the retreat at the end of the month, it sounds like a great retreat, great way to do ayahuasca. But for me, it was more of just the timing. I was like, I think that there's more to be had out of this experience, and I don't quite need to go and sit again. Um, so
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about the one I was invited to yesterday. It's like at the beginning of June, which is only like 3 weeks away. And I was kind of like, man, I really want to do that, but I'm not sure if now's the right time. Like that I'm happy to have been invited and hope that, that and I know that I'll be able to have other opportunities, but kind of feel like um but yeah, I've been thinking the same thing of like, man, I definitely want to do that, but at the same time, just asking myself if now's right for it. Um, and then very similarly, Matt, to your sweat lodge experience, there's like a lot of stuff that goes on at my yoga studio, and like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it had to be like, I don't know, all this time is kind of running together, but they had like this gong sound bath, and I decided to go to it because it sounded cool. I never done anything in that like that before. But then I was like laying there on my mat right before it started and kind of had a little mini freak out of like, oh shit, like should I be sitting here right now? Like should I be going through this right now at this moment? Because like, it says in the post session that like you're supposed to wait this time before you do any other like sort of energy work. And then well I didn't leave and I sat through it and it was fine, but I don't think I got everything out of it that a lot of people there did, because the whole time I kind of had this guard on of like I don't want to mess up what I got going right now, and like really had a similar like, oh man, I'm not sure if this is where I should be right now at this moment. And
Yeah.
that was just an interesting thought. And then interesting to hear you had the same thing.
It's interesting. It's really interesting. And in fact, the other day, at some point last week, I basically started working with this new coach, Joe, phenomenal guy, a lot of experience with plant medicines, inner child work, and he does this thing called non-violent communication. So we're like working through all this stuff, which is amazing. But anyway, he gave me this meditation to do on a daily basis, which is really, really good, like a really, really good like healing, positive like meditation to do. And anyway, I was using my breath in it. Part of like you using your breath is to kind of like get vibration in the body. And I was laying down, like trying to do this, and I was like, I can't do it. Like I can't get to that point. And that wasn't really the goal. I was just kind of like seeing where I was at. But I feel like the reason I couldn't get to that point is because I've emptied that trauma cup significantly. That is not brimming in the way that it was. And I actually messaged a friend who's a psychotherapist, and she was speaking about various things and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And that's really like the power of the medicine, um, that it does that in the first place, but then the lasting effects as well. And I think we can be too quick to like move on and try more. And that's something I'm definitely trying to navigate right now. I think Matt, you've got a really good head on you with this, where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to go back yet. I know when we previously spoke, you could definitely see this being like an annual thing at the start of the year for like a good Kickstarter. And I'm toying with the idea: do I go back in August like you, Neil, or do I go back sooner, or do I find somewhere else? I'm looking at this new retreat center, but it's like, when is too quick to go back? But equally, when is too long before you go back?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very specific to the individual. But I already feel called to go back, like really strongly. But I know that I need to focus more on the integration. So the thing I'm juggling with is that ego. Am I just chasing, like, I don't know, the experience, the high, um, the benefits? What is that? And do I actually need to just sit and be and really let it like unfold in the way that it needs to before then going back? And I think I'm gonna leave it as long as possible to really like focus on this integration and fully get the benefits before I go again.
Yeah. It's a tough call. For me, I think it's like the timing works such that it kind of puts this beautiful carrot out in front of me to really stay on my dieta and my cleanliness. That if I didn't have that kind of on the horizon, I think it would be easier for me to slip back into my old state. And that having that there is really helping me to like resist some past temptations, um and help me to stay clean.
Mm.
So
I
yeah,
think,
I'm getting the same kind of result from having these races on my calendar.
yeah, there you go.
yeah, there you go, 100%. I think what was it, a couple of weeks ago we jumped on a call with Sean and a few of the other guys were there, Neil, and you were speaking about the pre-dieter and continuing the dieter and the conversations you had with the facilitators as well, and like actually being able to go even deeper due to like the body being even more detox. Therefore, the ayahuasca can take even more of an effect on you as well. So
Hmm.
I can definitely see the reasoning behind like what you're doing and having that real purpose behind it.
Yeah, it's a good reminder for me. Like, and although I'm just really blown away by how untempted I am to say eat the dirty things that I was drawn to eat in the past, or to just lay around and be lazy for the entire day. Like, I'm I'm just feeling so strong and so motivated, where like I said earlier, where I used to feel like I was punishing myself to live this way or to restrict myself from these things, and now I feel like I'm treating myself to be eating clean or treating myself to this yoga practice to be active, and even within the practice, like where if I was being in some physically stressful situation or some difficult workout in the past, I would find it very easy to like half ass it, or or to like pull myself back. And now I'm like feeling invigorated to dive into the harder parts of it. And like
Mhm.
that's just been incredible and such a shift in my psyche, where like I said, I'm not saying this call, but I know I said to y'all that like I am a rule breaker. Like it is my default mode to break the rules, like to find the places where that doesn't make sense and I'm not going to do it that way. And then I also realized in the dieta that, wow, I'm also behaving that way with my health. And that's the one place where it's like unacceptable for me to break the rules. That like I need to be following the proper diet, the proper activity levels in order to prolong my life. And like and and it's just been such a profound shift in how I view myself, how I view my health, how I view my activity level. And I'm just so thankful for that. Like, so incredibly thankful. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's an incredible gift. Like this
Yeah.
whole experience is like it's given you that, but you've given that to yourself, in fact, by like doing this, committing to this process, and like still going strong. And that will
Mm-hmm.
go from strength to strength, and it will become easier. You become more disciplined. Like
Yeah.
that's phenomenal to see. And I feel like you just mentioned with having like the races in your calendar, Matt, like Spartan race or obstacle course racing was my savior a few years ago. I almost went down that path of like could have gone down the path of like drinking and really being like a loose cannon, but actually like I come across obstacle course racing and put my energy into that. And now I constantly have races on my calendar because one, I enjoy it, but two, it always gives me direction and something to aim towards. And I think that's important for everyone. Yeah. Cool, guys. We've been going a while now. Um, I mean, there's so much more to share. I don't even feel like we've like scratched the surface. I'm conscious of time. So, is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to like go over, like from your experience, or you feel like there's anything that you want to share that you haven't shared that you feel like would be valuable for people or anything else?
Hmm. Matt?
No, I mean, I just think, if it's something that you're interested in doing and you're on the fence, I think that's, uh, I think that's a sign that you should really consider doing it.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I think if in any way you're hearing the call or you're curious or it's something you've thought about but never taken the leap, like it's time to jump. This has just been the most incredibly powerful experience, and not like I said, where I came into this thinking like I'm gonna go get deep in the jungle. Like it's so much more than that, and has been so much more beneficial to my life as a whole that that uh, I just can't speak more highly of it. Like it's something, like you said, Matt, that I think everyone should experience. And while it's not for everyone, if you are in any way thinking that it could be for you, it is. And 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 go for it.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And I want to thank you guys for, well, being part of my experience, and thank you for coming on here when I've raised the topic. I've got so many like fond memories of us like under the stars,
Yeah.
laying on the grass, just in pure bliss, lots of laughter. It was just like some amazing, deep conversations that
Hmm.
will forever be with me. And yeah, I hope we share experiences like this again in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Likewise. Well,
All right,
thanks for
bro.
getting us together. I appreciate you
Yeah.
organizing.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure people want to hear more as well. Like I said, I don't feel like I've scratched the surface. And equally for any of the other guys that were on the retreat with us, yeah, more than happy to chat to you guys. I'm sure they'll enjoy listening to this as well. But you can imagine if we
Yeah.
had 20 people on this call, it would no one would actually get anywhere with a conversation. It'd just be a catch up more than anything.
Right. But this has been great. And it's, yeah, been great to catch up with you guys. And I very much would love for us to be able to share the experience together again. But regardless, I'm just so thankful that we did.
Mm,
And yeah, thanks for pulling us together, Matt. This has been awesome.
yeah, welcome, guys. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, maybe August is the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've just opened the new retreat center. I think you guys saw it. I put it in the group and posted it on my social media. But it also looks incredible and smaller groups as well. So it's got the potential to be like even more like intimate and well
Yeah.
spectacular.
And I went and looked it up yesterday. So they're booking for November. That's when that site opens.
Mm,
And yeah, that'll be awesome too.
great.
All right,
All right,
guys.
guys. Pleasure. Thank you, and we'll speak soon.
Yep.
Sounds
Later,
good.
boys.
Catch you later, guys. Bye bye.
Peace.